Well, Katie, welcome. Thank you so much. It's so nice to meet you.
You too. How are you?
I'm doing well. Not as good as you because you're in Mexico. But
Um,
most people know you from Below Deck, Winter House, Bravo. But I kind of want to step away from that for a sec and start with your yachting journey. Do you remember the moment you decided to make yachting a career?
yeah. Oh God, it's nearly 10 years ago now. Like I cannot believe how quickly the time's gone. But I kind of did it as more as a gap year. I had just graduated university. I was in New Zealand and I was really like something inside of me. I was just not happy there. And I always wanted to travel. So one of my best friends was working on the yachts and he was like, well, why don't you take a gap year, come over here, just like have some time, travel, make some money. And that gap year kind of turned into 10 years later. So here I am.
Well, was there anything maybe that surprised you or caught you off guard when you first started that you weren't expecting?
I just think the level of wealth that we were dealing with was really, really surprising and shocking to me. I'm from New Zealand. Like, yes, of course, we have rich people there and that, but this was just a whole nother ball game. So it really opened my eyes really young to just how much money people in the world do have. It's absurd.
Now, obviously in yachting, you jump from boat to boat, different captains. How do you, I guess, maybe adjust depending on, I'm assuming each captain does it their own way. How do you maybe kind of stick to what you know, but also being flexible with, how they run things?
So honestly, like, yeah, there's so many boats in the industry, so many owners, captains, some boats are way more like we call it militant run, some are a lot more casual. I've been very lucky in my yachting career to work for amazing owners and captains. And I honestly think that is the sole reason I've managed to last in this industry so long. A lot of friends that started out when I started out had left years and years and years ago because they unfortunately didn't have the same experiences that I did. So I have been really fortunate in this industry.
Now, how long into your yachting career were you once you started below deck?
I was deep. I was 7 years in, I think.
Okay.
And I thought I was done with yachting, hence doing the show. They'd reached out to me for years and I always turned it down. And it was kind of one of those things. I made a joke once. I was like, oh, when I'm done with yachting, I'll go on below deck. And then it ended up that way, but actually ended up the opposite because I'm obviously still in yachting. So lucky for me, it didn't go that terrible. But yeah, I was about 7 years deep into my career when I decided to do it.
Well, now, how is being a chief stew on a show, I guess, different from a charter without a film crew?
It's a lot harder. Yachting itself, you guys see it, it's a hard industry. We work long hours, demanding guests, crew dynamics, crew personalities is always probably the hardest part of my job to manage. The job itself is, I don't want to say easy, but in terms of just managing people and personalities, that's definitely where it becomes really tricky and difficult. And then doing that on a show, yeah, I pushed me to the brink. I was, yeah, it was a big challenge, big challenge for sure.
Well, what are some things that I guess maybe the audience and fans of the show don't necessarily see that is a part of, I guess, the yachting job?
I mean, it is a different caliber of guests that we get in, I say, the real world compared to below deck. 9 times out of 10, our guests, even though they may be rich or famous or whoever, they actually want to get away from everything. So they're always really lovely. Like I've had amazing guests throughout my yachting career. They involve the crew a lot and stuff. You do like a crew Olympics, like crew versus guests. They take us out for dinners. You tend to do a lot of fun things with them. And I think it's just the crew drama isn't as hectic, but then when we film below deck, it's very condensed. So, like, we will do charters that are 2 weeks long or 3 weeks long, and then get a couple of days off, and then start getting the boat ready again for another charter. So, it's not as condensed as it is on below deck.
Well, I mean, you've been to, so many different places in the world. Is there anything you learned either about yourself or anything that inspired you from your travels?
God, you learn a lot about yourself. You definitely learn how to pick and choose battles, that's for sure. I think when I was younger, I used to get worked up about a lot of things and things out of my control. We'll be told the boat's going here, then an hour later, that whole plan changes and we're going to another country. So you really have to learn to be flexible. It definitely challenges your patience. But I definitely think this industry makes a lot of people stronger, like headstrong, because you're dealt with a lot of shit and you just have to roll with it. It's really out of your control.
Has there been a charter location that you've been to, I guess, the most times?
South of France is obviously a big one. Yeah, south of France, like the Amalfi Coast, that coast of Italy is very popular. Sardinia, Corsica, that tends to be what we call the milk run in the Med. And then Caribbean, Antigua, St. Martin are very, very popular places, St. Bart's. So I've definitely spent a lot of my yachting career there.
Now, because of the popularity of the show, I'm sure you get tons of messages and questions about, I guess, how to get into yachting. And I would probably bet my sister was one of those messages at some point. But what is your advice to anybody who wants to make it a career?
So getting any kind of experience is the best. So if you want to get on the interior, like bar work, cafe work, restaurant work, that's amazing. If you can do any extra courses, bartending courses, floristry courses, anything like that will always help. And if you know somebody in the industry, lean on them. Try get day work on their boat. Try, do something like that because that will help a lot.
Let's hop off the boat for a sec. What do you enjoy doing in your free time when you're not working?
I spend a lot of time here in Tulum, Mexico. I've really made it my home away from home. I'm a summer girl, I'm a beach girl, so I need to be near the ocean. I grew up in New Zealand, I grew up on the water, by the water. So that's always something really important to me. I like to do a lot of yoga, workout, and just I like to chill because when I'm like working, it's just a lot for me and I get overwhelmed very easily. So when I come off, I do like to kind of take a minute for a second.
Well, so if you're a beach and a summer person, how did you adjust to winter house? Was that kind of just like, I can't stand the snow and cold?
I mean, yeah, that was a whole nother ball game. But no, like I do love the snow. I've just never grew up like skiing and stuff, so it's never been something important to me. But to be honest, like the experience of Winter House was epic. Like it was super epic. I definitely found more of my love for the snow, and it's kind of just like yachting but inland. It still has those crazy elements, the party elements, the just going out and having fun. So I definitely adapted just fine, I think. Maybe too
Snow,
fine.
snow in moderation is, I think that's the good balance.
I think so too.
Now, you've also gotten into podcasting recently. You're the host of 30, Flirty and Flying. How have you enjoyed that so far?
Yeah, that's been amazing. It sort of came out like about really randomly and quickly. And me and Malia were talking, and there seemed to be like I don't want to say demand, but we were always getting DM'd the same questions. Like, I think me and Malia really break the narrative of women in their 30s. We don't live a traditional life. We travel the world. We work on super yachts. We're not married. We don't have babies. And I think it was just a lot of women that seemed to feel lost were reaching out to us, being like, well, how do you do it? How are you content? So we were kind of like, well, let's talk about it. Like, let's break this, societal pressure because we're not living that way and there's nothing wrong with that. So that was something that sort of felt important to us. So yeah, that's how that came about.
How have you seen the show kind of evolve from, the first episode to now?
Yeah, it's crazy how many people, like, you don't think people would really listen. Like, I don't know, you just don't put yourself in that category. But then I've actually been like a few people out, they normally recognize me for Below Deck or Winter House. But I've had a few people recently come up and say they love my podcast. So that's really refreshing. But yeah, but it's really hard, I think, for me and Malia to find time to actually do that because we're so busy. We're always traveling. And I know Pat. Our manager will agree with this. He puts up with us very well, but it's just trying to find enough time to do it, which is always the struggle.
Well, excited to see more episodes coming in the future. I want to wrap up with a few quick fire questions. Are you ready? All right. Favorite charter location?
Ooh, Croatia and Alaska.
Okay, I'll give you two for that. A location you haven't been to but want to visit.
I would love to go to Norway, and I'd love to do all of Scandinavia.
Ooh, okay. I mean, even though you're not a big fan of the cold, that sounds fun.
No, I know, but it's amazing.
Okay. Funniest moment in your yachting career?
um, I don't even know. Probably the day I got below deck or decided to castle below deck, because it was actually the day I resigned from my boat. I was having
Mhm.
a like, F yachting, I'm done with yachting, I'm over this shit. And then literally I was working off the post of the boat. Casting messaged me and was like, do you want to cast? I was like, yeah, screw this, whatever. And then all of a sudden it became super serious. And I was like, oh shit, like we're actually doing this.
Wow. I mean, re-energized. I guess your what passion for yachting.
Yeah, it came back.
Okay. Well, who is your dream podcast guest for 30 Flirty and Flying?
That's a good question. My dream guest. I really like following like travel pages on Instagram and people, that travel the world and make their money doing that. Like that fascinates me. But if I had to choose like a guest, like even though this has nothing to do with traveling, I would love to have like Michelle Obama or somewhere on there.
Ooh, that's a very good one.
Yeah.
Love that. And finally, your best life advice that you've learned through yachting.
You can't control other people. You can only control yourself. So just give up on thinking people are going to change or people are going to do that. Like all you have control over is yourself and your feelings. So don't worry what everyone else is doing.
Okay, put that on a bumper sticker. That was fantastic. Katie, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you for having me.